Alrighty, welcome back to It's a Vase Productions. I'm joined today by my good friend Hoff, Hoffcast. And we are today starting our brand new show where we talk about movies. And the movie we're talking about today is the Boondock Saints. And this new show, we're going to be doing it every Monday night at 9 o'clock. So every Monday, you can join myself and Hoff, and we're going to talk about one or two movies, probably one, maybe two. It depends on how deep we get into this stuff. Hoff, how you doing? How you feeling?
Great. Thanks for having me, man. Always fun. I look forward to these shows as soon as we decide to do one. It's just like going to be the highlight of my week. Love talking about you. I like that we're going to do something kind of focused. I know I brought that up when we were talking about this. I think that's going to be fun to like really pick apart some movies, talk about some of the things, and maybe learn from each other or whatever, and see, even, refer to the chat. Hopefully, if you have anything to say meaningful in the chat, go ahead. Or you can just bullshit, whatever. Can I say?
We're easily confused.
Can I use language on your show? I can never remember.
We're about to do the Boondock Saints first, so yeah, I hope so.
Okay, so yeah, bullshit in the chat. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I don't want to censor myself during this. But yeah,
there's the movie we're about to talk about first has one of my favorite lines ever, and it's one guy using the word "fuck" over and over again. So
I forgot about my notes.
We have to be able to cuss in this one.
And look, Daddy's for real. He took pages of notes. I don't know if you could see it because of the camera on this damn movie while he was watching it. So I basically rewrote the script. It took me 8 hours to watch this movie.
I'm excited to talk to you about it. You said before we started that you had questions about stuff.
I think we'll get into those more later as we're talking about it. What I did want to bring up kind of before we actually start talking about the plot is let me get this page up here real quick. I wanted to ask you if you knew a couple things about this movie. First of all, I was watching it on Vudu, and on Vudu it gives you the Rotten Tomatoes score, the critics score,
which is low,
22%.
Yeah,
I mean the audience score is at a 91. So
this movie was this movie was pissing off woke people before woke people even woke.
Well, they were still sleeping, still snoozing.
I mean, there's plenty of white people use the N-word, but those are the villains. But like, that's that racist joke. I mean, like, there's tons of different. I mean, spick, mick, any sort of wop, slang for or a derogatory term for a race, is in there. But that's also a nice kind of realistic representation of how people were talking and how some people still talk. I mean, like, you think those people don't exist? Yeah, they do. And I don't know. I think it's great. I think it's set within like the time period too. It's great to see people walking around with beepers on their belts. Like, that really sets you in like the time period that they're in. Like, because some of the stuff that happens in this movie, you'd be like, well, the cameras would have got it. It's like, no, not in the 90s. They didn't just have cameras, like set up like that. It was still. But like, that's the other thing. That's why this movie didn't even get a wide theatrical release. It was released originally it was released in 5 theaters nationwide for a week. And that was because the Columbine shootings had just happened. And they were like, oh no, a violent movie. No
guns at all. Take them out of video games, everything,
And so it made $30,000 from its theatrical release, but then it made $50 million from DVD sales and stuff like that.
Nice.
Troy Duffy, the director and writer, is quoted as saying that like Blockbuster helped save them because they made a deal with them to help actually get it, on the shelves and out there. And then word of mouth made it a cult classic.
That's cool, man. I wanted to. Well, first of all, I'm glad that it finally got success somehow because I mean it deserves it. Second of all, I wanted to bring up Troy Duffy here while we're on the subject because I wanted to bring him up anyway. You know how many movies he's done?
Not a lot.
3. Boondock Saints 2, and Luminous. As a director, as a producer, he's done Off the Boulevard, Knight Rider 2016, and Guest House. And then he's got as a writer, he has 4 credits. Like, that's
Boondock Saints was his first movie. He wrote it, and he was at the time working as a bartender and a bouncer. And he was inspired to write the movie The Boondock Saints because he witnessed like a drug dealer taking money off of a corpse in like a building that he lived in or near. And as we'll talk about later when we talk about that, that's very much a theme of this, is like people being fed up with blatant corruption and crime and just horrible people around them. And like, at what point do you do something about it yourself? Take the law in your own hands. I'm on a mission from God.
It's Blues Brothers
reference. But yeah, I mean, hey, these brothers are on a mission for the God. These brothers. Actually, that's a great comparison. The Blues Brothers versus these brothers. Like, one's like, we're gonna save an orphanage. These ones like, we're gonna murder people.
Yeah. Stark contrast.
It's basically the same movie.
While we're making references, I do want to say that, as for good luck as always, and a tribute to the greatest film ever made, not only the greatest Terminator film ever made, I have my Terminator Salvation Cup here as tribute to that movie, and cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
I know you hate.
This is
I
just
know you hate when I do that, so that's
why. It's a clear glass.
I can't wait to, after like the next 7 episodes of this, when I keep bringing up that cup, I can't wait to see how pissed your face keeps getting.
Eventually, we're gonna.
My favorite part.
It's just gonna be that weird thing. Everyone's just gonna be like, I don't know why Hoff keeps talking about that. I think he's waiting for Vase to get angry. Vase doesn't care. Like a cup if you want.
It's gonna get old. Trust me. Anyways,
I'm gonna start embracing it. You'll see. All right. Anyway, the Boondock Saints. Yes, the Boondock Saints. His first movie. Yeah, he wrote it in 1996, and then he got it sold, I think, to like Miramax and some other people in 1997. And I heard that he was kind of hard to work with. Like, production was a little bit tough, but I can understand that for multiple reasons. One being, this was his first movie. He was never directed anything else. He'd never written anything else. Like, having no idea what you're doing sometimes makes things difficult. I will admit that.
Yeah, frustrating for sure.
But the end result, I mean, I think was great.
So, starring, of course, Willem Dafoe, Sean Patrick Flannery, Norman Reedus, David Della Rocco, which his character's name is Rocco.
Playing Rocco, yeah.
And then Billy Connolly. Music by Jeff Dana.
And you know, the Detective Greenlee, guy who Willem Dafoe is always making fun of?
Yeah, the dumb guy. Yeah.
His name is Bob Marley.
I was going to bring that up. It's in my notes. I was like, Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
Guy.
Yeah. Anytime so Bob Marley's in the Boondock Saints, people are like, where? And I'm like, you'll never know. You'll never. Yeah. He's the white guy. Whoa. Their makeup artists are amazing. No, different Bob Marley.
Hey to Kyle Jordan Gaming. I said Kyle Gordon. What's up, man?
It's the
symbology.
Symbology, yeah. It's too bad you messed up on saying his name. I guess you're not an expert in nameology.
God damn it. Good one. You got me. So
let's get started. What do you say? Moving through the plot?
Yeah, let's start with that, man. It's takes place in South Boston.
Boston.
I believe starts on St. Patrick's Day. This is like
it does, and it opens in a church. Actually, the first thing is they're in the church, and there's a guest priest speaking, and he does like an opening prayer or whatever, and then he goes and sits down, and then like over, you hear this voiceover, and that's their father, which you find out later, speaking. But he says one of the prayers, not the prayer that they say later, but he says like, My sword will come flashing down on thine enemies and stuff like that. And at this point, the two brothers stand up and walk to the front of the church, and the guest priest is about to like get up and stuff, but like he's stopped by one of the local priests because they know who these guys are. They go up and they kiss the feet of Christ, and then they leave. And it's great camera work throughout all that scene. And as they're leaving, the actual Monsignor of the church, and the Monsignor's like the head guy of every particular church, he's like the head priest of that church, is telling a story about Kitty Genovese, which is a real story, by the way. This is based on a real story that actually happened. She was murdered in broad daylight, stabbed to death. There were like at least 18 or 20 witnesses. Nobody called anyone or did anything because they all assumed someone else would do something. It's actually like a psychological effect, just like assuming someone else is going to take action. But he uses that to say there's something we need to fear more than evil, and that is the indifference of good men. And that's like the whole crux of this story, is that like they're good men and they're no longer just going to stand by.
See, that's what I was going to ask you about. And I'll get right back to that. Let's take 5 seconds here. Kyle Jordan Gaming. I can't deny that. Moment of silence for Neil Peart. Of course, we'll just do 5 seconds here. Anyways, my thing was, I was going to ask, like, I wasn't sure exactly what their motivation, the Boondock Saints motivations actually were throughout the movie. Like, this movie doesn't really have a setup where they're trying to get from point A to point B, really. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's kind of just, I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like falling into their
story.
laps.
Yeah.
But that's also why it gets progressively harder for them. And also that's one of the missteps, if you will. Like, they end up fighting that's their father, like Il Duce, like, so they end up getting in a gunfight with him because, and he only realizes that it's them when he hears them praying. But that's partly their motivation. Like, they weren't just suddenly during this movie, like, this is the first time they've thought about this. They were raised by their mother. There's actually a deleted scene I'll tell you about where they call their mother, and it's absolutely hilarious, and it's one of the funniest things ever. But the thing is, like, when they're with Rocco and they go to the titty joint and they kill the people there, and Rocco afterwards is like, dude, you got to tell me that prayer, man. That's some sick shit. They say, no, that's a very personal thing, like my father's kind of deal, that's within our family. And that's why, like, it's not like that prayer that they're saying, that didn't just come to them out of divine inspiration. That's part of their family heritage. So this is actually something that's possibly been going on in their family, like righteous holy avengers, for years and years and years and years.
That's interesting. They could have turned that into a whole thing.
Well, you haven't seen Boondock Saints 2 yet. They go into some of the backstory of their father in Boondock Saints 2.
I feel like I did once, but it was like a long time ago, and I had a lot of drinks, but I don't remember. I think Ricky from Trailer Park Boys is in it. I think that's all I remember.
That movie is ridiculous. Like, this movie's ridiculous, but that movie, like, takes it up another notch.
I was glad to find out at least it was written by the same guy who wrote the first one, because I wasn't sure. Like, no offense, but the movie poster for like the second one looks a little cheesy compared to the first one.
Well, they also had to use, like, because it was like however many years later, and Sean Patrick Flannery did not age well at all. Norman Reedus did slightly better, but they both kind of look like way older. Norman Reedus especially, like, his face like pooched.
Yeah. I wanted to point out that the priests at the church at the beginning, it looked like some of them were wearing like hockey jerseys, dude. They're like purple with yellow stripes and stuff. I thought it was funny. I've never seen robes like that. Found it.
Yeah,
I wonder what all these colors mean, or if it's just for flamboyance.
It depends. It's a Catholic church, so that depends on the liturgical season, what season it is, like what season it is religiously. Like, are we near Advent or are we near where? They're near St. Patrick's Day. Actually, it's supposed to be St. Patrick's Day, so that's a holy day. That's when the one guy is wearing those very colorful vestments. And then the other priests aren't wearing as colorful stuff because they're not. There was the one guest speaker, and the other guy's the Monsignor, so they're not well. Like, they have to show that they're not as cool as those guys by wearing less color. But also, that's a cinematic feature to give those priests more graphical weight. It draws your eye to them so that in the scene you don't waste your time looking at people that don't matter.
I also noticed the big giant gold eagle that's in front of the podium where they speak. I don't know what that represents, but maybe America? No, I thought it was Italian or whatever.
Well, Germany used the eagle a lot during World War II, but before, I mean, so does America, the eagle. It's a strength, a symbol of strength, and Nazis try to take every sort of symbol, like the swastika or whatever. It was a Hindu symbol, just reversed. So
actually, I think Kyle Jordan Gaming is right on this. Lakers. No, I was going to say they were Lakers fans.
Well, also Rome. He's right about Rome. He also said Rome.
I know.
But also, like, I've always found that's one thing. I was raised Catholic, but the Catholic Church, I've been to a bunch of, I feel like it's hypocritical as hell to have all this gold and nonsense and splendor when I'm like, how is that helping the poor ever? But whatever. That's not really what this movie's about. It's more about, like, the church is there to set an example, but like these people are raping and killing and stealing and then getting out the next day on bail. What the fuck is up with that? That's not right, It's not right. Killing.
Yeah. I agree with that. I wanted to say that I thought the movie, the soundtrack started out killer, and then it kind of like dropped off from there. It got really cheesy rock music throughout, but it started out. I was like, hell yeah! I'm digging this.
Actually,
what's the opening song?
The blood of, blood of Kulhain. And it's literally spelled capital C-U space capital C-H-U-L-A-I-N-N. It's Irish folk music, essentially.
Well, it was jamming. But even the rock song at the beginning was jamming, and then it kind of got cheesy after that. Like
a lot of the, a lot of the music was done, at least in the theatrical release, by a band that Troy Duffy was either in or knew. But one thing I did like is a lot of times like that cheesy music, and that's how I was thinking. I was like, what does this remind me of? And it reminds me of like playing Perfect Dark or like GoldenEye, like on N64, or like back in like old school GoldenEye. And then the thing that sets it apart is when the operatic, like the choir comes in. You know what I mean? Because it's like, and then all of a sudden it's like, and I'm like, okay, they put a twist on it. I don't know.
Isn't that like what Defoe likes to listen to whenever he's investigating his opera? Isn't that normally when it comes
he's
to
listening to like Italian opera? The music that plays when the brothers are doing stuff is usually like some suspenseful, like kind of like rock drama music mixed with like sudden choir coming in.
I know, but the way I took that is most of the time what is happening there is Willem Dafoe's character Smecker is trying to figure out what happened in the crime scene. So he's like trying to get himself in the moment. And I think that's where like the symbology or whatever comes into play, where you have both the rock music from them and then the operatic music from him come together while he's trying to figure out and imagining what was happening in this crime scene while he's looking around him. Because mainly, if you watch those scenes where they're shooting people up, that's not supposed to be in real time. That's supposed to be him figuring it out. And of course, that's what happened, but it's not like, you know what I mean? It cuts back and forth a lot in this movie.
Well, that's
like a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that it's setting that up. You'll notice that from beginning to end, every time he investigates a scene, with like one exception, that being the one that he was late to, which is the coffee house one. He was late to that one. And he even ends it by saying, I hate cold crime scenes. All the other things, when he reimagines them, the time from when he gets there to like from when that happened is longer and longer until like the final one that he actually like figures out. He is actually there with them while they're doing it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like in the movie that we're watching, he's not just describing it to other people and we're seeing it. He's literally there while they're doing it. And that's literally setting up the fact that his character from the beginning of this movie has been slowly turning into this guy that the next thing he does is he joins them. He is actually with them on the next one. So he starts trying to figure out what they're doing, and he ends up through a series of these things as they get closer, and then him actually being in it, and then him actually literally joining them and participating himself.
But you make a good point that I wanted to bring up, that I feel like this movie should have been not called The Boondock Saints, but The Guy Who Follows the Boondock Saints. Because I think this is Willem Dafoe's movie, dude. I mean, he's in it more. I guarantee he has more screen time. I guarantee Rocco, the funny man, has more screen time than them. Because, I mean, they get a lot of screen time, but I guarantee Dafoe's character at least has more screen time than them. I don't know numbers, but just watching the movie.
He's more expressive, maybe, and he does do a really great job. Actually, like the way that he pulls off his character of being a gay FBI agent who has gay like tendencies, who also hates gay people. Like,
yeah, I was just wondering, like, why they brought,
yeah, it's a very nuanced
sexuality into the movie.
Oh, it's huge because that plays off of the Boston cops, and think of the 90s especially, but like think of cops and like homophobia and like Boston and like the Irish, you know, that kind of Irish Catholic stuff like that. The gay thing is like that is traditionally an enemy of the church, you know, like, oh, gay people bad, church, you know, gay people bad, and that's as far as like, and now it's different.
I see it,
but think about like in the 90s, yeah. And then he ends up teaming up with them because like they're literally both fighting bigger things than that. Like the McManus brothers, they don't care if you're gay or straight. Like they don't care. Like they literally say at the very end of the movie, you know, they're like, do not rape, do not kill, do not steal. These are tenets which any man of any faith may embrace. But we urge you less of farms of filth, not to push over into true corruption, because that's when we start killing people. Basically, they're saying
absolutely.
Like
I just thought like the only time it came into place whenever he was like dressed as a woman, which I don't know who's buying that shit.
Well, I don't know. You might not have seen it in the director's cut, but there's another scene where he's in bed with a dude, and there's another scene where
that was he's in the one I saw. Yeah,
and there's another scene where he's in the gay bar before he goes to the church, and he insults the bartender. He calls him a fairy fuck.
Yeah, I saw. That scene's in there. Yeah.
And they're all the gayers like, what the hell is wrong with you? And he's like, ugh.
Yeah, because I wrote that down. I was like, that's weird, you know? Yeah.
And it's just part of like the nuance of his character. Like, also, he's not from there. You know what I mean? Like, Agent Smecker, he's an out-of-town FBI agent. He's called into, and that's why he was losing his mind on that case. Like, during the scene where he's actually like investigating, like during the firefight scene, like you see his shirt comes untucked, his tie's out. They have him like shooting his gun at the air at one point, although that's just like metaphorical, but like it's there to show like just how much he's unraveling what he believes in. He's not sure what he believes in anymore. They go over that when he goes to the church. The priest says, like, if you are going to act on something, you have to know first what you believe in. Do you believe what these boys are doing is right, or do you not? Like, what do you believe? You can't start acting until you know what you're acting for.
So who do you think's the real protagonist of this movie? Do you think it's Willem Dafoe? I do. He goes through the most transformation. He has the biggest arc in the movie, I believe. Personally, because I mean, like the guy.
No, because the two brothers go from being meatpacking plant people that, you know, whatever. Willem Dafoe goes from being an FBI agent who, you know.
I mean, like probably emotionally. I agree with you. They have the bigger arc, but I mean, like emotionally, like this guy really learns who he is.
Rocco dying in front of their eyes. What about, you know, like having
I still felt like he was pretty one-dimensional for the most part.
Rocco?
Yeah. I mean,
he was the one that came and visited them in jail and brought them clothes and their crucifixes. He is one of their best friends. He showed up to the Irish bar on St. Paddy's Day night to hang out with them. I mean, their bond is pretty, and you know how close they are? Here's how close they are. This moment literally tells you how close these guys are. When they have just murdered 9 people in a room, and they look in the peephole and they see that it's Rocco outside, their first thing that they say, we've got to fuck with him.
Yeah.
That's a best friend level right there. All right. And also these guys,
and they put the mask on, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab him by the hair. He's got a fucking 6-shooter. What? There's 9 bodies, genius. What are you gonna do the last 3? Laugh him to death? Funny man.
I like how he's called the funny man. He's not really that funny, if you ask me. Maybe I took it the wrong way or something.
Well,
but I thought it was like ironic.
Is he supposed to always be like and he tells the joke that makes Yakavetta laugh, and remember when Ron Jeremy's there?
Like,
yeah. I mean, they can't just constantly have him cracking jokes.
I know. I wanted to see like why they called him the funny man, because I didn't really see it. Like maybe I just took it too literally.
Well, also when they first come into the bar to take it over, he's like, "Hey Boris, what would you do if I told you your pinko commie mother sucks so much dick that her face looked like an egg?" And then he gets punched in the face.
Well, that's pretty funny.
And so he's got a couple, but he's always like he's getting shot and dying half the time. So
that's what I thought. Yeah, that's why I didn't think he was that funny.
Okay, also, is it dead when they shoot the cat and when his like girlfriend comes back and he's like, "I will shoot myself in the fucking head if you could tell me that cat's name."
Yeah, that was good.
Skippy. What color was it, bitch?
Yeah, that was good.
Dude, he's funny.
Yeah, that was good. Give him that.
When he's fondling up the stripper that passed out when they're killing those people, and they see it, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, "I'll tip her."
Okay, he's a funny man.
He's the funny man. Don't kill me. I'm the funny. That's not my real name. My name's not Jafar. I'm the funny man. What the fuck did you guys fucking fuck?
I want to know.
Did you guys fucking fuck?
I want to know actual screen time for him, Willem Dafoe, and the brothers, because I guarantee if they're not like right on the same level, Dafoe and he have more screen time than them.
I don't know why. Okay, we'll look that up at some point. I don't know. I'm not really worried about it. I think the brothers have plenty of screen time.
I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that they show a lot of these two characters.
They're main characters
throughout the movie. That's another thing about like this movie. I felt like was kind of a chore to watch at times because there were so many characters, and they were doing the thing where they're at least putting up like the text on the screen about the character, like way before Suicide Squad ever did it. You know. Like Rocco or whatever, funny man.
What level? Yeah.
Which, because you have to once you start introducing like 15 characters in the first 15 minutes, you got to keep it straight somehow. So I appreciate that they did that, but that's probably just going to go on Wikipedia anyway and look them up. I don't know. This movie was hard to follow at times, just with the flashbacks and everything. Once you get to the end, you got it figured out, but just getting through it. Especially since I haven't seen it in like 10 years, was kind of like it was kind of a chore just piecing things together. Which, I mean, I like not being like just spoon fed everything in a movie, but sometimes it was just confusing,
No, I mean maybe I don't know. I didn't find it, but I've seen it a million times. So what do I know? I feel like it's not. I would say that like sometimes like where they're going and what they're doing isn't clearly defined. Like, but that's sometimes because they're fleeing a place and then like just while they're out on the road, like that's what happens after Rocco kills the people in the coffee shop.
I was gonna say, and like so much happens in this movie. It's just like so much happens in this. That's why I'm taking so many notes. I'm just like every 30 seconds I'm in a different scene.
And actually, right before near the end, right before they go to Papa Iacovetti's house, he's on the phone talking to Smecker, and Norman Reedus, Sean Patrick Flannery's character is, and he's saying, we're going to take out Papa Iacovetta tonight, and then we're going to move up to New York. It's getting too hot here. So their literal plan was to move out of Boston as soon as that was done. But then that job got screwed up, obviously. So.
Well, I said there was so much that happened. That's why I have questions about it. I've only seen it like one full time and then like a quick run through, in the past 10 years. And there's a lot to catch in this movie if you're not taking notes and writing stuff down. A lot of things said. I didn't watch it with the closed captioning. The first half of it should have. Would have been a good idea at the time. I would have loved to seen that old bartender say "fuck ass" in closed captioning.
Why don't you make like a tree and get the fuck out of here?
He stole Biff Tannen's joke straight up there, man.
Fuck. Ass.
You know what I'm talking about? Biff from Back to the Future, he says the same thing, man. It's a great joke there.
People in glass houses sink ships.
By the way, I didn't want to make that unclear. I don't dislike this movie. I'm just saying sometimes when you're going through it, it's difficult to stay on track with what's happening until you get to the end, and then it all kind of makes sense and comes together. Of course, if you've seen it a million times, it's second nature to you. But
yeah, it's hard for me to think of it not knowing who like all the characters already are. So
exactly. Well, you read Lord of the Rings too, so this is probably easy for you. Not for me, like. It's probably really easy to remember these names compared to like the first 28 names you get in the first 4 pages of Lord of the Rings. But,
the Silmarillion, good God. Fingelfin, Feanor.
Fingelfin?
A million F names, yeah.
Fingelfin.
Fingolfin, Feanor, Finwë. They're all of the same family. Sons of Feanor. Then there's a bunch of wars. And they fight Morgoth. But anyway, that's getting way off topic.
I do want to say my favorite thing about the movie, hands down, just is Willem Dafoe. Some of the greatest acting I've ever seen in my life. Some of the greatest dialogue. I think I told you like one of my favorite lines is I might just be wanting a bagel with my coffee. It's the way he delivers these lines.
He does really have a great, the way that he comes in and sets himself up, and that relationship between him and the cops also evolves. The first time they see him, they're all entirely skeptical. Then the middle of the time, like they're kind of bouncing ideas, but they're still not sure. At the end, on that one again at the house where the firefight goes down, when he says, "All right, here's what happened," all 3 of them just flip out their notebooks and start taking notes. Like at the beginning of the movie, they're like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
Yeah, he's putting on headphones and spinning around and shit.
By this point in the movie, they're just like, "I'm gonna write down whatever this guy says," and
that's sweet hockey hair, and his sweet sideburns.
That was another thing that they showed that Willem Dafoe's character was constantly touching blood and not giving a crap about giving blood all over himself. Did you see that? When
I'm sorry.
He's constantly getting blood all over himself. Like he doesn't care about the niceties of like, this is like when they're looking at the room where the 9 people were slaughtered in the hotel room. He's looking at the back of the guy's head and he's got blood all over his gloves. And there's 2 different times. One time he goes like this, and one of the detectives is like, but doesn't say anything. And you can literally see if you look in his hair, they put like there's red nastiness in his hair. And then there's another point when one of the detectives gets something stupid, like Greenlee says something totally wrong, and he goes like this, and he puts his blood-covered hands on the back of his head, and when he pulls his hands off, you can literally hear it go, and it's like, ah. And then the other time is when they're at the house, and the woman's like, I can't get a good blood sample. There's some sort of variable here I'm not seeing. And he goes over and sticks his finger into the blood and goes like this, and he's like, they used ammonia.
I did want to mention, dude, I noticed by the end of the movie that his hair went from being perfect to just being a crazy mess.
Because he was unraveling.
The symbology, Yeah, the symbology. Yeah.
Symbolism.
But yeah, I thought
they were after him.
I remember when the movie started, like, man, that is some nice hair Defoe's got going on. At the end of the movie, I was like, man, he doesn't have that hair anymore.
So speaking of symbolism, there's some great symbolism in this movie. for instance, when they're staying in the jail cell overnight because they want to avoid the cameras and the media, that's when they get the baptism scene. Do you remember that?
Is that where
there's a storm outside and there's thunder and lightning, and that you hear,
and then all the water comes down? And
yes, you hear their father's voice
yeah.
again. But did you notice where the water's coming down from? Is there's a crack in the ceiling. The crack comes out of the wall as a single crack and splits into 3 pieces. 1 and 3. The Catholic faith believes in a 3-part God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, in nomine Padre et Filii Spiritus Sancti. So that 1 crack becoming 3, and then the 2 cracks on the side is what drops water on them. The 1 crack in the middle is for their father, who isn't currently there, but he actually is in prison at that time.
I get the symbolism, dude. God loves crack. No?
It's a symbolism for one, and you know what it is.
No, I got you, man. Actually,
I think
while we're talking about that scene, before that, whenever they ask if they can stay in jail, and then the one cop asks Defoe if they can stay, he says, "I'll have to ask your mom, but it's okay with me if your friends sleep over." He does his face.
Well, it's great, yeah, because the cop
is great
like,
acting of all time.
We got some extra jail cells if you guys want to. Can they stay? Well, we'll have to ask your mom, but it's okay with me if your friends spend the night.
Dude,
and then he's
good.
like, time to feed the dogs, because he's going to talk to the media, and it's like, and then one of the next scenes is like him slapping a gay guy in the face because he's trying to cuddle with him after they had sex.
Yeah.
After they had sex, and Willem Dafoe's on the phone. He's like, finding out the murder, and he's like, fine. And he turns to the guy, his colleague, he's like, what's wrong with you? And the guy's like, I just wanted to cuddle. And he's like, cuddle? What a fag. And the guy's like, and the funny thing is, like, you just had sex with that guy. And you know what it cuts to next? It's him getting out of bed. It cuts to him walking into the hotel. And when he does, he checks out a cop. A man cop is walking out past him, and he checks out the guy's ass. That's the next scene that they cut to. It's so funny, like his character as like a gay man and a crossdresser and like all these other things, and at the same time, like totally craps all over gay culture and like all other stuff. Which again, in the 90s, in a field like police and stuff like that, I get it. It's actually a pretty interesting take on all that stuff. And Willem Dafoe, like you said, plays the character masterfully.
It's one of my favorite characters I think I've ever seen in a movie. And not really the character, but his performance, I think. Man, they really just... Troy Duffy was like, hey, you be you, man. You Dafoe it up and do your thing. And he's like, Troy Duffy's behind that camera just being like, gold, baby, gold. Every time he steps in front of the camera. I would be too, man. You got to let Dafoe go.
Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen any of the deleted scenes from the Boondock Saints?
No, I have no access to those.
Okay. They
Unless
might be online.
YouTube, somewhere. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But like after this, you have to look up the deleted scene where they talk to their mother. And it takes place in between, like when they like at the meatpacking plant and before they go to the bar. So it's like after he gets kicked in the nuts. So he's icing his nuts at this time, and their mother calls and she pretends to commit suicide. And then they're just screaming at the front, ma, 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 ma. She's like, gotcha. And then there's some backstory about their father. But then at the end, they're like, they're asking her, Ma, you got to tell us which one of us was born first, because they're twins. And she's never told him which one of them was born first. And she goes, all right, fine. I've kept you waiting long enough. Whichever one of you has the bigger cock.
No.
And then the one brother looks down at himself and looks at the other brother and smiles real big. And the other brother goes, oh, come off it. I've had ice on mine.
I think I found those. Yeah, I found it. It's the first thing that comes up when you bring up deleted scenes on YouTube.
It should be, yeah. That's the only deleted scene that they should have kept in the movie, in my opinion. At least in the director's cut, but I've had ice on mine. There's so many great bits in this movie, too. Yeah, tell me what else you got in your notes.
Oh yeah,
Taker.
someone I was surprised to see walk in the movie. I didn't remember who was in it. I was like, oh, that's a familiar face. Oh yeah, Ron Jeremy's in this movie. What the
Ron
hell is he
Jeremy.
doing in this?
Ron
God,
Jeremy
I thought
also.
I thought I'd like switched to the wrong thing for a second, but no, I'm still on Boondock Saints.
As far as casting goes, I mean, didn't they do such a good job casting this movie?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ron Jeremy in that character, Vincenzo.
Yeah.
So you're the funny man. Look at me. I'm Rocco. I'm so fucking funny.
Yeah, he drags it out. I love the way he does that, man.
Yeah, he's being a complete piece of crap to him. And then as soon as the actual boss starts yelling, like he stops. And I love the boss too. Gazzolo! And then he's like, you're not supposed to do that no more. You're not supposed to tell a guy you gotta kill him.
You're talking about Papa Joe, right?
The 90s are killing me. I gotta tiptoe through the tulips with these assholes.
Yeah, because he yells on the phone. It makes him look weak.
Yeah. He's like, because he tells the guy he's gonna kill him. He's like, I always get my money.
And then I love, one of my other favorite things about this scene is Papa Joe there is eating a sub the entire scene, and the way he like unwraps it, he's like open, he's fun, and then he gets like serious, he puts it down, and then I think he might wrap it back up or something. Yeah, and absolutely. The sandwich was holding the tension of this entire scene.
The sandwich did a lot because also it was keeping his mouth full when he was talking, and he's like, da da da, and then it gets to that really tense moment when Rocco's trying to tell and like while he's telling the joke too, if they cut back to Papa Joe when he opens the sandwich and shows it to Vincenzo, and it's just like it's literally just like bread and ham.
No,
like,
yeah,
it's like a bread, and he's just like, "What the fuck is this?"
It's like
what is this? Sandwich. And he's like, "What? Whatever." And he keeps eating it, and then like the tension, he's like, "I'm no good. This joke's no good." And that's when Papa Joe puts down a shitty sandwich. And he wraps it up a little bit, and he pushes it aside, and he steeples his fingers, and he goes, "Continue the joke."
Yeah.
And it's like really serious. Like this guy who just told he was going to kill somebody else.
This other guy make me really nervous, man. These scenes always make me so nervous watching.
And you know that like this is the head guy, and not to mention the underboss, Vincenzo, Ron Jeremy wants to hurt Rocco. Like but he's such a little bitch because when it comes down to the time, like when the joke is finished, that's one of my favorite things because Jacobetta just sits there and Rocco's just sitting there and they show back Vincenzo and he's like looking between the two of them, like just like, and then all of a sudden Papa Joe starts to laugh. He's like, and then they cut back to Ron Jeremy and he's like, because he's literally going like this. And I was like, this guy's perfect for this role. He dresses like a 70s porn star. Which is hilarious because that's what he actually is.
I love his weird little mustache. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I need you to take over for a minute. I need to change my headphones. These are dying because I'm using a microphone and the headphones at the same time, so I guess it kills them really quick. So yeah, just tell the joke if you know it.
I'm not telling that joke.
Tell the joke and use the N-word. Like
that's actually a big contentious part of that scene is that they make him say the N-word. Actually, take your time. Yeah. Take your time now to change your earphones. But that's actually a big contentious part of that scene is that when he's trying to tell a racist joke to these two Italian guys, he's not being racist enough. He calls him a black guy. They're like, say the N-word. And he's like, yeah, that's what I said. It's like, is it not enough that he's already trying to tell a racist joke? It's like, no. You've got to use the N-word. You've got to make it as horrible as possible. Who do you think we are? We are the Italian mafia, all right? And apparently that's the best thing that could ever happen for them. But Papa Joe absolutely loved the joke. Over there. I'll take a Coke. And as far as having grown up in the 90s, I heard my share of I've heard that joke. I heard that joke before I ever saw this movie. So that joke was definitely going around at the time. There was another one like the genie where the people jump off the bridge, but yeah. And yes, that's absolutely right. Kyle Jordan game where they're using that to show just how much of a dick this mafia guy is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not as well. I don't know. Probably wasn't great before. I can't use my microphone, as you know. Yeah, I'd also heard that joke previously to watch this as well.
Yeah.
Where it was going, but the tension in it, because I thought that maybe the Papa Joe was going to be like, I've heard that before, you son of a bitch, you know, bam. I thought that.
Yeah, at the end, yeah.
So,
but here's the thing. Well, that laughter actually, like that in and of itself might have just been a joke, because the next thing he does is send him off to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. He might have just been like, I'll make you feel good about that joke you just told and make you feel like everything's going good for you so I can set you up to die.
First of all, I love how many times in this movie they like think they kill someone or they kill someone and leave other people in the room with them, and then they just walk out the door and then just huddled outside the door talking for like, and while everything else is going on. It happens like 4 times in this movie. Like,
yeah,
they're just like, we're gonna shoot one person, or we're just gonna chain them up, and then we're just gonna walk out. Like, what I didn't understand was towards the beginning, whenever they have Connor handcuffed to the toilet, and why they take Murphy out and just leave him there. I mean, I know he's handcuffed. They didn't think he was going anywhere, but still, like, why didn't they just do him in right there? Like,
well, he said,
why did they have to take him out to the street? Yeah, I probably missed it.
But. Okay. Well, they didn't say why they took him out to the street. I would imagine for convenience sake or some sort of, I don't know, criminal logic. But he does say like that he originally came there to kill Connor, and then he's like, I'm going to kill your brother. So take him outside, execute him in the street.
Let's talk about that jump from the 4th story, that he didn't break any bones.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And also
the guy to break his fall.
The framing is totally off for when he's first like tossing the toilet. Like if they went with that, like the above shot of him on the ceiling when he's tossing the toilet, it's going nowhere near the guy. And then they show the reverse shot from below, and it's like right over top of his head. And I'm like, that's you. All right. And then him jumping on the guy's back. It would be one thing if he like full on landed, like if the guy was like bent over and he landed on his back or something like that. But like he was standing up and he kind of just like falls against him, and it's like that's not a serial crushing. Like that's.
I thought he was gonna have a broken leg at least, or a wrist or something. It was gonna play into the rest of the movie. Didn't happen. He just got up and. Yeah.
He went into shock, and they treated him at the hospital.
I mean, he did kind of have to carry him. Like, they each saved each other.
He passed out, yeah.
I did like that, how they each saved each other right at the beginning, because he jumps down, saves the one brother from getting shot.
And then the other guy
Murphy saves him.
Beats the other guy over the head, yeah.
I was really worried for Connor when that toilet was falling, dude, because that porcelain... The music,
I think, is.
I love it, but I hate it. I love it, but I hate it.
Like, I'm serious. It was like it's really like 90s. You know, like there's 80s music has a little bit more like punch to it and bounce to it. 90s music, it's a little bit more like. And then when they add in the choir and stuff, I just lose it.
You ever seen the Hardcore Henry? Kind of reminds me of like the prelude soundtrack to that.
Yep.
Kind of like the Doom music. You ever played Doom?
Yeah.
It's got some of the best music, man.
So now we have...
It just sounds like a chainsaw, all the music does for Doom. I'm cool with that.
So now we have a serial crusher theory and a huge guy theory. Top notch. Who the fuck are you? That's who the fuck I am. Dude, his interaction with Greenlee is one of my favorite things. I just might be wanting a bagel with my coffee. Look, these two guys are scared like 2 little bunny rabbits. All right? They're miles away from here by now. But if you want to find them, here's what you do. You tie a string on a potato, drag it through South Boston, and thanks for coming out. You'd probably have better luck with beer. Onion bagel, cream cheese.
Forgot to mention this.
I might just be wanting a bagel with my coffee.
So there's also a point where Willem Dafoe does a river dance at the crime scene. I love that.
That's
Love the
two
river
sound
dance.
theories without involving abnormally sized men. You Irish cops must be like river dancing. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Good shit from Willem Dafoe. Not William.
Willem.
Willem.
Will
I wonder
M.
why
William.
mom had a speech impediment.
Maybe.
So there was also I noticed like there were certain parts that they went black and white. I wasn't sure why. Like there was the montage of them laying the pennies on the eyes, and that was in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was set to the opera music, according to my notes here. Smecker was listening to that while he was investigating the crime scene. But I was just like, why
Yeah, that
are we
was
black and white in now? Like
they were flashing back and forth. Well, that was it. They weren't killing people then. They had already killed them. This was to show that they're still good people. Kind
I
of.
knew that. I was just,
You know what I mean?
why
Yeah.
that-
And that's
black
just
and
it's just the
I'm
editor's
nitpicking,
choice.
bro. I'm nitpicking. I wrote these notes to nitpick. I told you we're going deep in this. Bring your A game.
Well, you asking
You have.
why
You have.
why did they go black and white here? And sometimes that's just like the editor
Yeah,
felt
didn't
like
you direct
going
the
it.
movie?
Not even close, man.
I'm not talking to. You're not Troy Duffy. What the
I was
hell?
10 years old when this movie came out.
When did you first see it?
Probably 2004, 2005, which is 5 or 6 years after it came out. Yeah, 6. I saw it on DVD. It's the symbology there.
I think it was on Netflix like a long time ago, and I watched it. First one, the second one. So.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't retain a lot. Just the way this movie works, like my brain has a hard time keeping up with it. So, I mean, last movie I really watched was probably Sonic the Hedgehog. You know, you don't really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is like, you know.
Just kidding. I mean, like actual movie that I hadn't seen before that I watched. You know.
This is a dark humor action, like, and with time jumping. You know, it's.
A great gag I like throughout the movie, or not throughout the movie, throughout a certain scene when they're in the vents and even in the gun shop beforehand. Whenever he grabs the rope, he like, get your fucking rope.
Yeah,
and he's always like making fun. He's like, I'm dragging a 30-pound rope.
They do a great job of keeping up running gag, and also just classic movie. But the rope thing, yeah, where they talk about the rope, and then that actually comes to play. I got your fucking rope right here, and then they get. And then that's part of the evolution of their characters. Like they start out like these first ones kind of just fell into our laps. They don't know what they're doing. Willem Dafoe even says television. Television, the explanation for this. You see this in bad television. Little assault guys.
I was just about to make that point, man.
Yeah. Real people don't do this shit. That doesn't happen in real life.
James Bond shit, dude.
Yeah. And that's why, like, you have this idea of, like, yes, these guys, maybe they are actually divinely inspired. Maybe these things that seem like accidents are happening for a reason because God wants them to kill these people. And then after things go so well for them, things start going worse for them. And they start getting caught. They start getting shot up. Rocco gets shot. They all get shot at one point. And that's also interesting. The first thing after Rocco kills those people in the coffee shop, when he comes back into the apartment, he's like, grab your shit. We gotta go. One of the last, like when he's running around grabbing stuff and putting it into his bag, he grabs the iron, the clothes iron, and he's waving it around and he stuffs it in the bag. That's the same iron that they use later to like solder or cauterize their wounds after they get shot up. So that's a great example of something, again, like the rope, that's like, hey, it's in this earlier scene and it comes into play.
I got another one that fits right in. When they're in the room with all the guns, he grabs a knife, puts it in there. They use that knife to cut the rope when they're hanging.
And that's the same knife that they used to cut the wife's hands when she has them behind their back, when Rocco's like, put the coat in, I swear to God I'll kill you. And they're like, her hands are tied. And he's like, why am I always on bitch duty? Yeah. And it's the same knife that I'm pretty sure he has that knife at the end when he stabs the guy in the back. But and the masks. You guys got masks? I thought I'd think, oh, put it back on. It's fucking scary, man. When Rocco makes his own mask.
Oh yeah.
That's the other thing I love about this movie is like throughout a lot of like the first 3/4 of it, even up till near the end, there's so much humor in it. But then at the end, like the humor's done.
Well, I wouldn't say 100%.
After a certain point, there's not much more comedy other than like the audience or the people on the street interviews that the camera does, which I think is a great metaphor for like what Twitter is now, basically.
Yeah.
What do you think about this person?
It's like I thought it funny, not in like a ha kind of way, like laugh out loud, but in kind of like I don't know, a weird way. Like it's a funny situation when they're at the church towards the end, and they got the priest there, and like fucking one of them's talking, or one of them's got Rocco's got him with a gun to his head to the priest, telling him, not to say anything, and then I think Connor comes in and grabs Rocco,
grabs him through the
it's like three of them, and then Willem Dafoe, and he has no idea there's other guys back there the whole time. I thought that was pretty.
That's well
shot.
Love
that whole scene, dude. I love the whole scene.
The divisions that they bring up there, it's great, and the fact that Willem Dafoe is still drunk at that point, so like, and the priest is having like this personal conundrum because he's like, should I endorse these people that are currently like, or like, it's a really great scene, and then like at the end of it, Rocco's like, God works in mysterious ways.
I love, but I like the part whenever he's talking to him about the guys, he's like, would they ever hurt anyone bad? And he's like, no, the two Irish guys, the Italian.
He's kind of an idiot. Yeah, and Connor's like, don't fuck.
See, I thought that was funny, man. I'm not saying this is a bad movie at all. I'm not trying to say that. I want to have this show so we can criticize things, even things that I like, and kind of pick out all the parts. That's why I want to do this.
I get it. Well, that's really something else I caught was when they I see mistakes and things I can point out. Okay, so for instance, like when they fall out of the vents, 1 minute they're scrabbling around inside a metal vent. Literally, the next thing they show is them falling through a hole in the ceiling. The vent is gone. So, like, what happened to the vent?
Yeah, good question.
It's gone. Yeah, and it's like, but the thing is, that's something that like you can get away with in movies. You know what I mean? Like, there are certain things, and I was working on one of my other projects, which I'm going over Transformers, and there's one scene where like it's supposed to take place over 5 minutes, but during the course of that 5 minutes, they have like a sun going from almost setting to it's completely nighttime, and I'm like, that doesn't happen in like that short amount of time. Yeah. So like that's the kind of stuff that sometimes I notice when I was rewatching this movie. I noticed some stuff like that, but at the same time, they made this on a budget of like $1 million, like 500, like not a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
and back in the day, so like you have to.
And like I said, at the end, it all kind of wraps up, and they did a great job with all that, using whatever they could. There's not like
the cat. When they're drunk and then the cat gets killed on the table, that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's gonna happen. It is fucking done. And then he slams the table and then there's an explosion. And then it's like, oh my God. And then it's just meat and like red spatter on the wall. Sad. Oh my God. And then Rocco goes, is it dead? And there's like nothing left of it. And Connor's like, or Murph's like, I can't believe that just fucking happened. The greatest thing is if like in the later scenes, once the girls come back and like they're freaking out and leaving, if you look at the place on the wall where that happened, they barely washed it at all. You can still see a red stain, and they put up they like scotch taped a picture of a girl on top of it, a regular size picture. If you go, it's so funny. Hold on, let me see if I can find it over here. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
It's reminiscent of that cat scene of like when the cat gets electrocuted in Christmas Vacation.
We gotta go. Let's see.
Yeah, find this scene here because we're on dead air right now. Start singing.
I almost had it. Here we go. Nope, that's a side view. Oh well.
Son of a gun.
I'll
He
find
tried,
it.
folks. He tried.
I did my best. Also, they take a lot of time during those two scenes to promote Pepsi products. They definitely needed some corporate sponsors for this. Yeah.
That's like they really. I guess Irish mobsters drink Pepsi. I thought they would mix that with their Irish whiskey.
People get thirsty, man. Oh, pack your shit.
All right, here's one for Neil. Living on a lighted stage approaches the unreal. For those who think and feel in touch with some reality beyond the gilded cage.
Casting this unlikely role
with insufficient tact.
Okay, here we go.
Raising the stakes.
Okay. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Do you see they put up like scotch tape just a picture?
That's a good detail. I would have never noticed that.
That's one of my favorite parts of this movie. Is like, probably shouldn't show the movie, but
God damn, you just got a copyright strike, bro.
I know, right?
not even a warning, a strike.
I killed you, cat, you druggy bitch. Yeah. Why did you kill my cat? I thought it would bring closure to our relationship.
All right, man. We're at the hour mark. Let's talk about our favorite moments. Is there anything else we're forgetting? I think we've gone through most of the main plot points of the movie of everything. Some final thoughts or whatever. What was your favorite part? What was your favorite character?
So my favorite character has always been Murph. I mean, the brothers I almost take as one character, and I really respect Willem Dafoe and everything he did. But I don't know. I just always, since I'm second generation Irish, me and my brother always loved this movie. So we used to do Halloween as the two brothers. So I don't know. They always held a special place. I like Il Duce too. I like most of the characters. The Greenlee and his, the different cops and their, relationship with Smecker. Willem Dafoe, obviously, this is like an amazing movie of his.
I can't say enough about that guy. I'll let you keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, in this movie, damn, he kills.
Yeah. I mean, it's just great. This is one of my favorite movies, not because it's the best shot or it's the best edit or it's the best anything, but it's just one of those movies that I watched back in the day. It's a great action flick. I enjoy it. The music gets me. The story I enjoy. I like the way that they did it. I like Willem Dafoe. I mean, this movie for me is just even just when I first started up and I heard that blah, 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 of the production company that no longer exists anymore, I knew exactly what I was watching. I was like, oh yeah, Boondock Saints, right on. So about you, man?
There's no shame at all in and I do think this is a good movie. I don't think it's without its flaws at all. I don't think it's a perfect movie. I think it's very enjoyable. Like I said, I got a little bit mixed up at times, just trying to keep track of all the characters' faces. There's Ron Jeremy. Hell yeah. That's my boy. Look at that suit. Look at that hair. Look at that stash. What a player. Anyways, That's
when he's checking out the guy.
I never noticed that. That little dude, that's perfect. Perfect acting. But there were certain parts I got frustrated with it. Other parts, I just loved certain things about it. Other times I had questions, which I've asked pretty much all of those tonight. But overall, I do really like this movie. I don't know when the next time I'm going to watch it is, but I'd probably want to watch it again, probably in the next few months, to be honest with you. Go over it again and really try to see some of the details, like what you were pointing out and everything, and go in with the mindset of knowing that this is how the story is going to be told, rather than like point A to point B. There's a lot of stuff in between, you know.
Definitely.
But I really do like it. Like I said, Willem Dafoe, man, like from the river dance to Bay with the coffee to letting the sleepover happen. He has so many good lines. I wonder how many of those were written for him and if he came up with any, because I feel like he could have came up with a few of those on his own, just whatever he was doing. It just seems a lot of his stuff seemed very spontaneous, really well done. A lot of it seemed like in his the way he's a crazy guy. So, yeah, are we rating these movies or what? Are we doing that thing or no? Is that something we should do or not?
Should I rate the movie?
Are we rating these? We never even gave that a thought. Like, are we like giving it a number? Or,
I don't like doing that kind of thing. I give this I enjoy it and I recommend it, but
oh yeah, I recommend it as well. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen it, and you're in, you know. I love that, dude. That's one of my favorites. Yeah, I love that whole part right there. He makes some great faces in there too, man. He's drunk still. He's acting drunk.
Yeah.
And Kyle Jordan is right. They wore sunglasses. I remember towards the beginning of the movie when they first walk out of the church and they come out and they put the shades on before they walk out. And then they like to smoke. So I was like, yeah, we know we're dealing with some bad mofos now.
Walking out of church, lighting up a cigarette.
That's how it's done. Yeah, I mean,
I think for a movie that was released on 5 screens nationwide, this is an amazing movie.
Was this the first thing like Norman Reedus ever did?
That's the first thing I ever saw either of them in.
I don't remember seeing the other guy, Connor, in anything. What else has he been in?
I've seen him in a couple like bit parts in different shows. Nothing.
He looks like Jesse Pinkman in this. He looks like Jesse Pinkman in this Scream show.
And he gained a little bit of weight. If you watch, well, eventually we will do the second movie, so you'll have to watch it. But when you see the second movie, you'll see like he aged like.
Well, that's the pictures I saw.
Worse.
I was like, I was like, this guy doesn't look like the same guy at all. I was making sure.
Yeah.
He's starting to look bad, but he's just.
It happened. No, I mean, yeah. He didn't stay in like movie star shape, which is fine.
I mean, in all fairness, though, he kind of looks like a drug addict in this movie. Not that he is one in the movie, but, you know, kind of like a rat kind of guy. He looks healthy in real life, to be honest.
I would say the second one goes harder for comedy. Like this one, the comedy like felt more natural than I feel in the second one. But we'll get to that eventually.
That's with any sequel that has any kind of comedy, though. You know what I mean? Really.
Yeah. To an extent.
Except Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. It's the only one.
It's the only one.
The only comedy sequel that didn't mess up. I'm still waiting for Major Payne 2, bro. Still waiting for Major Payne 2.
Give me your pinky.
I'll take your mind out that pain, boy.
Get mind out the pain. Yeah, I'm gonna be on you like white on rice on a paper plate and a glass of milk in the middle of a snowstorm.
I tell you about the little engine that could.
Teet, teet.
And Bubba looked at me and said, I can't feel my legs. I said, Bubba,
you ain't got no legs.
A little bloody nose.
All right, we're on the wrong movie.
Well, we're gonna wrap this up. That was basically my final thoughts. But
I was gonna say final. Those are your final thoughts.
I don't have much else.
Much else? Yeah, we covered a great deal.
It was very enjoyable. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, give it a chance. At least let it ride for more than the first like half hour, because it is kind of a pick it up and learn more as you go kind of thing. And there's like I said, a lot of cutting between scenes. There's so much that happens in this movie, especially like in the first 45 minutes. It moves at a breakneck pace, as they say. in the journalist articles. But
I guess that's true. I don't really think of it that way, but again, that's probably because I've seen it too many times. When I was looking on IMDb and it's like other suggested movies, like some of the other ones were like one of the other ones was Crank, and I was like, really? So I guess just by dint of me having seen it so many times, I don't recognize as much
exactly
that
man,
aspect of
because
it.
you're already familiar with everything, and it's kind of hard to remember sometimes, like what you were feeling the first time you saw a movie.
I just hear like the music and I see stuff and I'm just like, yes, I love this and I know exactly. Yeah, so it's hard. It's definitely hard to like think about it for the first time. Almost impossible for me.
So
yeah, definitely a good movie. I think, regardless.
Should I watch the second one soon?
Well, I'll make that my next one. But maybe I won't. We'll see. Hey, did you want to? Well, what are we doing next week?
All right. Well, I think we only really have Kyle Jordan in the chat here.
Can I ask him?
I have two movies, Kyle Jordan. If you're still there, if not, then I'm probably just gonna flip a coin. But I'm between the movies In Bruges, starring Colin Farrell. He already said it. He already said it in the chat before I even got to it. Look at it.
Wait.
Look at the chat.
Living the dream. Maybe I don't see it.
This is the newest comment. He guessed the next movie. So I guess we
Big
got
Lebowski. Okay, that's the one then.
I was gonna say Big Lebowski, Kyle Jordan. God damn it. I love you, bro. So we're doing Big Lebowski next week. Hell yes.
Big Lebowski next week.
Hell yes. That's crazy. That's serendipity and divine providence, or whatever you say. So yes, we are doing Big Lebowski next week. My channel, I believe, Hoffcast. You pick the movie, you host the show, I guess.
I think we're just switching back and forth, doing whatever. But we'll be putting up thumbnails and links and stuff on Twitter beforehand, and wherever else we decide to put it. So,
dude, I think that we are kind of like you're kind of like the dude. I'm kind of like Walter. I mean, I know I'm not overweight, but I think we.
I was already thinking about that for the I was thinking about that for the thumbnail already. But yeah,
that's what you brought it up to me for. Yeah, I got these glasses, and they're perfect Walter glasses. So
I'm looking forward to it. It also is like the guy in the Boondock Saints who's the killer. Kind of. Do you remember that guy?
Kind of Boondock Saints who's the killer.
This guy.
Oh yeah. Guy kind of like Walter White.
Did you see how fast I found that? My gosh.
You are
I know my way around this movie.
You're a wizard, bro. Look at that.
All right, well, with that, I think we're going to call it a day for this stream, the first episode.
I had a great time, man. This is everything I wanted and more.
I had a wonderful time talking about this movie. Anyone if anyone watches this and comes up with other stuff that we didn't mention or that you wanted us to talk about, let us know in the comments. Maybe we can get to it another time. If not, we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week, Monday at 9 p.m. for the Big Lebowski. I'll be here. I'm Vase. This is my channel right now, so you know who I am and what I do. And I'll be there with Hoff, and we're going to be on his channel. We're doing what we do there. It's basically this. But
Hoffcast.
Yeah, Hoffcast, baby.
Put a link for future reference, put a link for my channel if I can. Can I do that?
I'll put all that in the description of this video.
Great idea. Always,
all right.
Always genius. You see, that's why I like you, because you think of things that I don't think of.
We do. We try.
I don't know much.
So that's it for us. Thank you for joining us, especially Kyle Jordan Gaming for your contributions and
no Biden touch tonight.
Holding up the chat for us tonight.
No Wookiee lives matter. No Biden touch. Weird. But we're glad to have you, Kyle.
It's also the the first of many. So once we get a rhythm going, I'm sure we'll have more.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
And even if we don't, we'll do it anyway. We'll talk to no one.
I'll just talk to you, man.
I will shout into the abyss. and love it the whole
I'm
time.
getting
'Cause
older,
I'm doing
so-
it right with this guy over here. Thank you for joining us. And to you all, I say good life, good day.
Watch Terminator Salvation. Greatest movie ever made.
Terminator Salvation.